How's it going, everyone? Welcome. This is Connor here at Haus. I'm joined by Rob today, and we're here today for another weekly discussion, this time talking about legacy paths. So today we are going to be looking at the idea that basically there are 4 legacy paths in Civ 7. But is that enough? Should there be a 5th? Should there be a different legacy path system in general? What are the problems with that? Rob and I are going to kind of break it all down for you while you watch some beautiful Tecumseh gameplay on screen. But before we get into it, just another reminder to like and subscribe. It really helps us. And specifically, we're asking for likes, maybe not even on this video. We'd love one on this video, sure. But we did a Antiquity Age challenge last week that we're trying to get to 100 likes on. If we can do that, we're going to do some really fun gameplay stuff that I was actually using this video on screen to kind of like prepare for a little bit. I was getting prepped for my challenge against Rob here. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. But yeah, Rob, we're talking legacy paths today. Excited to get into this. Yeah, what are your thoughts, generally speaking, on legacy paths?
I love and hate them. Love and hate them. I love that you have objectives to get to. I hate the fact that it feels like the game is a little more boxed in than in the past, is the way that I would put it. I love the ability to kind of move around and do what you can. It's probably why I ended up picking Ibn Battuta for my let's play that I have going on the channel. So I think I did it unintentionally, really, because back then I didn't even really know what was going on in the game yet. But yeah, I like legacy paths. I really do. I think it's great. But I think that the concept needs to be changed, and I have a very exciting legacy path to pick. I don't know when we're going to be picking those exactly yet, but I will say I'm excited for the one that I kind of have in mind that I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you're copping out. And I'll be like, maybe.
Well, I'll go ahead and introduce kind of generally what we're going to be describing today, and then I'll let you get right into it, because I do like yours. Yeah. Yours is a good launching point. So the basic idea of this video, which I think will be in the title, is should there be a 5th legacy path specifically? That's kind of what we want to look at. Do the 4 currently, economic, cultural, science, and military, do those cover all the bases? Do we feel like they're doing enough? Does that let you kind of express the different ways you'd want to win in this game, adequately? So basically, that is the question. Should there be a 5th legacy path? How would that get implemented, etc., etc.? We know that there's going to be more things added to this game, like another age down the line. They're obviously adding in more leaders and civs, so we figured why not beg the question of adding a 5th legacy path as well. So Rob, I'll let you take it away since you've got a great idea here, I think. So do you think there should be a 5th one added? What do you think it should be, etc.?
Definitely there should be a pseudo 5th one added, is what I'm calling it. Now, I do have ideas for 2 other ones. I'm not going to go into those on this video. If you guys want to see them, or maybe Connor will end up picking one of them, I don't know yet, to be honest, because we've talked about this in the past a couple times. But for me, I want an overall legacy path. And what I mean by that is like, I want the ability to be able to kind of be whatever I need to be, with the game ultimately ending once you reach a certain number of legacy points.
Yep.
And this is something that I think needs to be in the game soon. Like, there's a new patch coming in April. If they want to headline it with this, I would say go right ahead, because Connor, I have always had the playstyle, and I think there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way, right? And I think that this has been something that they've been kind of running into, right? That these, I want a nation that I could kind of do everything with if I need to. Or, like, there are specific things that you can focus on, but like, if there's a game where I realize, and you'll see it if you're watching my Let's Play, if I can't get to treasure fleets, right? But I'm playing economic, I don't want to be like stuck there trying to only go towards that one thing, right? I want the ability to build out my empire the way that I want it to be. And sometimes I may have to shift the way that I do things. I know you kind of can do that now, but maybe I want to kind of be a little bit of everything, right? Maybe there's a way where I can play towards that. I think with Ibn Battuta in the game already, with that wild card, kind of, not policy, but ability, attribute, right?
Yeah.
Like, it makes it so that that kind of playstyle is already available, and it's something that I think could be added to the game. It doesn't necessarily need to be in there for every single game, right? If you want to have games where it's like, hey, I'm completing this sort of thing, like, that's kind of the point of the game, right? And or if you want it to be where the multiplayer games are, which I think the idea behind a lot of this is so that you can complete the multiplayer games right? I just think that there needs to be this legacy path where it's just like an all-encompassing, like maybe they call it the empire path, right? Where it's quite literally you are becoming the Roman Empire or the British Empire or whatever, right? And you are truly able to be economic, militaristic, cultural, and scientific. You could be kind of all of those things. And it all adds up, right? And there's a way where they can scale it to make it so it's not just that, like, well, you only went down the legacy path of one or two things, and you got to 2 points on each one of them, and you got there right to the end, right?
Right.
I don't know, like there's just a set number, and maybe that's when the age transition, really starts to happen. That kind of stuff is the idea would be that once you've reached, say, 6 or 7, right, legacy points, that then it's like, okay, now that's aligned with when the age would start to transition and you make it into that next step. I just feel like I'm missing that. I love the idea again of like legacy paths where it's like you're earning something. I think that's great, especially as you go into that next age and you build on top of what you're doing. But I want to be able to kind of do all of it without having to focus on one thing and kind of just play it a little bit more openly, a little bit more free. And that's kind of where my problem is right now.
Yeah, I think min-maxers will hate this take, but I agree with you. I mean, I think that
they probably will.
Like min-maxing one thing or the other is kind of the way to play right now. It feels like, at least to a degree. I mean, like I just released actually when this video comes out, it'll be a couple days ago now. My Harriet Tubman science victory video where I just destroyed the modern age. This was pre-patch 1.1.1, but I was able to just absolutely blow through the modern age with science because of how I was scaled. That didn't feel necessarily all that rewarding. It just felt like I min-maxed science the whole game. And that was kind of it. I just espionage science, built science, boring. That's a way to play, and that's a way to win. But to your point, Rob, I think there would almost be, even if it's another game mode, where all it is how many can you get to, first to a certain aggregated number of points on the leaderboard, overall points? Is it, is it like what you said? Is it to where if you have at least 1 point in each category, basically a reward for being well-rounded? I think that would be an interesting incentive for players to go for. So I think this would be a great system to add. I think this would make me, it would be a challenging way to play because you would want to, it would make leaders like Eben really good because they can be so adaptable. And it would kind of, again, make that a little bit better. It would make gold better. It would make a lot of things just stronger, I feel.
Well, and to be fair, I think most leaders, not as much civs, but I definitely think most leaders are able well, no, actually civs too. Yeah, like a lot of them have kind of 3 things that they're strong at, generally speaking, right? And I think that this would open up as well the, tall and wide play style. I've seen a lot of tall players who are kind of upset with the way things are because of towns and everything, right? I think I just want more freedom to the game. I don't like being kind of enclosed, I feel like, with the way I have to play. One of the things I've always loved about Civ is it's like, what was great about Civs 5 and 6 specifically for me is like you start off with your one city and then you're exploring. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do next. How are you going to be able to vie your empire? Okay, I'm behind in science. How do I kind of, amp up my science? Oh, this person's very strong militarily. How do I kind of adapt to that and give myself the best opportunity to be the best empire? Because what I think has been lost in this game a little bit is you're basically building to win an age, right? And you're no longer building to be the best empire throughout history, right? You're no longer building to kind of rewrite history for these types of people. And there's goods and bads to that. I think, again, like this allowed for leaders and civs to be separated. I think the age transitions really do that in a great way, to be honest with you. It allows them to be more creative with the leaders and the civs that are in the game. Getting a civ like Nepal probably was never going to happen in other civs. There are a lot of goods that these legacy paths and everything else came and added in. Now I want to see kind of the old traditional civilization gameplay where I can go into a game. I've picked kind of what I want to be strongest at, but then I have to really adapt and just allow myself to play through the game and build the best empire I can, instead of it just being like, oh, I'm building the best science empire or the best economic empire or the best military empire that I can. I want to be able to kind of, be strong in maybe 2 or 3 areas and be the best at one or even the best of 2. And I know you still kind of can do that, but it just feels like you kind of get cut off at certain points. And I think that this Empire legacy path, as I'm going to call it, is one that I think will allow you to kind of get to that next level.
Yeah, Rob, I like this idea a lot, honestly. I think this would be a no-brainer inclusion to the game. I think it would be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm with it. So I'll kind of get into mine now. So we talked about this a little bit before going live, and because I think that right now we have the 4 ways to win, but we also have these different attribute points, and they don't all exactly line up. We have 2 kinds of attribute points that are not represented on legacy paths at all. That's expansionist and diplomatic. To me, that doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't make any sense that for me to focus on diplomacy if there's no way necessarily for me to win with it. I mean, it's a nice aid, it's a nice benefit. I really want influence to be this powerful tool because it sounds like it should be. It sounds like if I am exerting influence at a massive level over the rest of the world, that I should be able to win a game that way. Not just have a bunch of city-state buddies, spy a lot, put a lot of sanctions out. Like, I want more from influence. I think there's already a lot you can do with it. I feel like it's very strong right now. I actually am going to be pushing influence, I feel like, a lot in the next couple of weeks of how it's this kind of underrated resource in the game that people should be talking about more. But I want even more out of it. And I also just love playing games like this. So one of the things I miss in Civ 6, for example, is the ability to have these kind of, I think they were like congressional meetings almost, or like, having like a UN type thing, or a meeting of the nations or something where you could interact, vote on bills, and kind of sweeping sanctions, trade embargoes on different empires, all these kinds of things. That is completely absent in Civ 7, and that was a huge thing that I loved in previous games. So that is, to me, a big knock against this game, actually, is there's really no ability to strategically and peacefully, navigate relationships with the AI. And so if that were to be added, I think it would do a lot, because right now it feels like, so again, just to clarify, my 5th legacy path is a diplomatic legacy path that I'm submitting, by the way. And that is because I feel like right now I've played several games of Civ 7, like I'm sure everyone watching this video has. If you are watching, if you can tell me that being peaceful has ever been better than being militaristic, I would be curious to hear of how that could possibly be the case. Because I've played a lot of games, even as like Harriet Tubman, where like I'm not trying to fight at all. I want the fights to come to me, and that's it. And it still felt like at so many different instances I had to fight. Like there's no way to do a pacifist run, like a Gandhi run in this game. It just doesn't feel like it's a viable playstyle at all. And I think if you were to have some diplomacy incentives on a legacy path, that like, if you can have an alliance with every leader in a certain number of suzerain city-state statuses, and just kind of like bring the world together or something like that, I don't know, or just rule with your influence over the world, that seems like it should be something I can do. Like tourism is not a thing in this game. I mean, that's just not a unit. It's not anything you can earn like it was in Civ 6. So I think that like that relational thing with the other leaders is kind of what I'm yearning for in this game, because it feels like right now the relationship status thing, I've seen some funny Reddit posts about this on r/civ, where it's like, I had a good first impression, I got 20 positive points, and then there's like a crazy list of negative things for like, oops, I have a different government type, oops, you found it near me, so now you hate me. What? Like, all this crazy stuff where I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know how to please you people. I don't know how to be friendly in this game. And I would love to figure out how to be, how to incentivize that more. I think that could come through a diplomacy legacy path. But I mean, to the point, I think you and I have both shared with this. Expansionist is another one we could just as easily talk about. There are a lot of elements of this game that feel like they just are kind of dead-ended, and there's not a reward for pursuing them in this really earnest way. Like playing Tall is another example of this. Like there's just no reason to play Tall in Civ 7 at all right now that I can think of. So diplomacy would be mine, but I'd be curious what your thoughts are, Rob.
Yeah, I think, it's funny that you say that, because diplomacy and expansionist are, I mean, like expansionist is kind of in the military one in the exploration age, I think, but even still, it's like I don't know. I feel like you could split that off and have the military one be a little bit different, to be honest with you. I think they mixed in diplomacy with like culture and stuff too. But like, again, you could pull that out and allow culture to be its own thing a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
You could do more towards great works and all that kind of stuff, right? So I could totally see this being one. And what I would love to see it be as is like, 50% of the, nations you're allied with or something like that, right? Or it would allow for things like Napoleon, right? Who's really big on making people hate him, right? Like,
Yeah.
that would be really good. Or you even have alliance discussion in Great Britain, a new civ that was just added in the DLC, where it's like, you don't necessarily want to be allied with everybody. You're trying to kind of be a lone wolf, right? There's just so many options for diplomacy, yet it doesn't feel like it's fleshed out right now. It feels really not great. And having a legacy path, I think, would make them have to go back and look at it and really start to criticize, critically think on how can they make it so that it would work better. Because ultimately, right, like, everything that happens is that, and it was funny, I was actually just watching a documentary on Winston Churchill, literally last night, Connor.
What a
This is a
nerd.
great part of the conversation. Sorry, my World War II Netflix documentaries, I can't stop them. They're all great. But
so good.
what they talked about is that at the end of World War II, which is where this game ends, right? The whole goal that FDR had was to create, like, to really get the United Nations really, really solidified and really, obviously you do it in World War One, but then like in World War II, he really wanted, NATO and all these other things, right? And to get Russia to come in and be a part of it. You could very easily have the diplomatic victory path end with you really fully establishing the United Nations. It would be so easy to do. And like have that be like the ultimate goal that you get to, and then you just kind of work your way on up into it, right? So to me, it makes too much sense. It's almost like it's gonna be in the game eventually. I really do believe that they're going to add more legacy paths. I don't think you can stick at 4, right? I think it's funny. There are a lot of things they need to fix in this game, and I think that legacy paths are one of the biggest ones. Personally, I know they've already started balancing them a little bit and everything, but like there are just parts of the game that don't feel as satisfying. And I will say that would get me excited to play diplomatically in the game, right? Like, because the whole point of having all these nations, having all these leaders, right, is for you to establish relationships with them, right? Everything is like, are you a nation that's going to be, attacking and pissing everybody off, right? I'm not saying I want warmonger penalties back, not exactly, but there needs to be ways where you can win the game differently, and I think diplomacy just makes so much sense. Like, that's the ultimate goal of even like the current world, right? Is everybody's allied and buddied up, right? That's the whole thing that people are hoping for. Like, how are you going to get peace? What is the number one way that everybody gets peace? Well, everybody gets along with each other and nations are no longer at war and helping each other. Well, you can't even do that in Civ 7. You really can't. You are incentivized to go destroy everybody, which I understand that's kind of what World War II is, and that's where the game ends right now. Again, I'm referencing that a lot with the modern age, but like, give me diplomacy as an option to end the game, to end the big wars at the end of the game, right? You're going through, and even if you're at war with everybody, finding a way to find peace and have more discussions between them, because right now, even, like, diplomacy is so boring. Like, I remember reading the reviews and everybody's like, oh, they've rehauled diplomacy. It feels a lot better. And it initially does. But once you actually dive into it, it feels pretty bad. Yeah. And so, like, and I like the war penalties, right, that you can have, the war weariness and all that. I think that that's a great part. But let's expand that into your actual relationships again, because I'll be honest with you, even though the relationships, like, weren't great and the options weren't great in Civ 6, it still felt better than what we have right now in Civ 7. And there's just things that need to change fundamentally for me to make this one work. But I would love it, because if they added this legacy path, Connor, then that means that we would get a lot of these changes. And I already think it'd be a fun legacy path, personally. So
yeah, I'm with you, because I think you could from a kind of nuts and bolts practicality perspective, I mean, if you think about going through each age, right? So in antiquity, you would have actual incentive to use scouts and to go around and to meet people. Mm-hmm. And the way you earn points would be to have like an X number of influence spent on allied leaders, maybe, or maybe like X number of positive introductions or something like that, right? In exploration, you could maybe turn the focus to city states, like force players to utilize them, spawn more city states. Or it could just be even more like scouting, meeting people. It could be basically ways to reward players who have a much higher influence stat and make civs like Greece and Antiquity better, make leaders like Tecumseh better, make Machiavelli better, like make all these people. Yeah, he would be OP in this scenario, but yeah, just basically again making influence like this more prominent currency that you can do things with. And I think that could also be a way where it makes food better because maybe there's a population tie to influence exerted. If you have a big city, I mean, like think about the big cities in the world. Tokyo, New York, LA, Paris, right? Like those are cities with tons of influence on the rest of the world. That should be the case in Civ too. So that would be maybe a fun way to make food a little better in the game because it feels a little weak right now. And then, like you said, going into the modern age, I think the NATO UN idea is a great way to cap off the game. Because if you're able to do that, if you're able to bring everyone to the table, even the Napoleons and the haters, right? Like, that should feel really rewarding, and that would be an awesome way to win. Versus like what I just did, where I just researched a bunch of rocketry stuff. No one really bugged me. Some people maybe declared war. And maybe I just need to, play only on deity and put myself in harder situations or something. Not trying to humble brag or anything like that, but it just felt way too easy. So I think something like this could maybe be a little bit more challenging as well. But all in all, I think it's clear that, like you said, Rob, I think we need more than 4, and the 4 they have do need some fixing. I mean, and when we look at the culture path almost all the way through, besides building wonders in Antiquity, it is so clunky. I mean, trying to figure out what the heck to do in the modern age with your explorer units is awful. Trying to get relics in the exploration age with religion is awful, and you and I both hate religion in this game.
It's terrible.
I want it to be good. I have a master's in theology. I really would love to be able to use religion in a game like this. But I mean, economic with the treasure fleets having tons of issues. The rail tycoon thing sometimes doesn't really work. Science is one of the only ones that is pretty true throughout, and military, obviously.
Yep.
So it's just with only 2 truly fully functional legacy paths right now, it is a point of the game where I think that should be a focus of the April patch, like you mentioned, is fixing what they've got now and either teasing or releasing a new one. That would, I think, really help them turn a corner with the kind of perception of this game right now and keep players interested. So, yeah, any other kind of closing thoughts from you, though, on Legacy Paths, Rob?
No, just let's get changes made, right? Yeah. Like, the more they say they're listening to the community. I don't know if they're listening to Connor and myself, but they listen to you guys. We're part of the community, too. We'll put more into the forums and other places that I know that they're listening.
Yeah.
But Legacy Paths do need to change. I want to be able to feel more freedom in my game. I want to be able to kind of not casually, because I don't play necessarily casually. Like, I'm intensely trying to win, but I want to be able to win a little bit more freely than having to just focus on these legacy paths that I don't think are as well fleshed out as they could be. And I think that the game would ultimately be better if you did have these legacy paths. You could maybe win towards them. I guess my last thought here I'm going to say is you have this Empire legacy path I'm talking about, this bigger one, right? That is building up throughout the game, even with the transitions, right? All that kind of stuff. But they make the current legacy paths even harder to get. And you can technically win the game if you get one of those, but you have to really, really, really dive into it. Not just casually dive into it. It's like what you were saying with science, where it's you are the scientific mind of the age, and there's just no shot that anybody can catch you unless if somebody either goes to war and ruins your path, or there are ways to counter. Because I will say that would make the game, especially multiplayer, a little bit better. Now I'm going off on the whole tangent where I'd be like, wow, man, if there was more counterplay than just going to destroy people's stuff and a little bit of espionage, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Anyways, so the whole thing I'm saying here is I just want more freedom. I like the ideas. Again, the base concept of this game I think is very solid. It's just they need to flesh it out more, and I think there just needs to be changes that need to be made. They seem to be doing it. We got right to rule pushed back, Connor, I want to remind everybody of that. And I think that's so that they can do more big patches.
Yeah.
I expect things to change pretty significantly here soon, because it's not great that Civ 7 apparently the player base is starting to dip below Civ 6 and Civ 5 as people start to make their way back. I can't remember who it was, but I saw one of the big, it might have been Ursa Ryan even, who went back and just put out a video either today or yesterday of Civ 6 gameplay.
Jeez.
So, not great in that regard. Don't love that, but
yeah,
that is what it is. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, overall though, I'm kind of with you. Changes need to be made. I like that they are taking. I'm actually okay with them pushing back the DLC. It feels like we have enough new content right now, at least for my pace of playing. Maybe I'm not as sweaty as some others, but still, I feel like I've got enough new things to try. I think the impetus right now is fixing the problems, and to me, it's like, and this might be a hot take, but it seems ludicrous to go back to old games right now when this is still so new. There's no way, if you're a player that's thinking about going back, that you have done everything you can do in this game. So I guess I'll call out maybe some people that are like jumping ship right now. Maybe I'm just a hopeful optimist, but it feels like there's a lot still to love about this game, even though there are some definite clunkiness and unfinished bits to it. But regardless,
it will get better.
I don't want to sell everyone on my hopium, but we would be curious to hear in the comments what you think of Legacy Pass. If you have an idea for a 5th, you have some off-the-wall one. Should there just be an AI Legacy Path where you just, I don't know, pray to the sun god of antiquity and they give you AI technology? Who knows? We would be curious to hear everything. As always, though, appreciate the support on the channel. Growing channel. We're over 600 subs now. We're on pace to hit 1,000 this summer, which we're really excited about. We'll do some really fun stuff when we hit 1,000. So make sure and stay tuned for that. But yeah, give us your thoughts on Legacy Paths. We think they need to be fixed with some new ones added. That's it. So thanks for tuning in today. And as always, from our house to yours, we hope you'll join us for one more turn. We'll see you guys next time.